Good morning from WKYT News. Happy Mother's Day to the moms out there. I'm Bill Bryant. Before we leave this Kentucky Derby weekend behind in the history books, we'll be talking to a Kentuckian who is now looking forward to about his 70th Derby. A true Derby historian, Phil Perkins, will be joining us a little later. First this morning, Kentucky State Auditor Mike Harmon is really busy these days. This week, he announced that he and his staff will be doing an extensive examination of the books at the Kentucky Horse Park. Harmon says his team will look at expenditures and procedures over the last several years. The horse park audit was requested by Senate Majority Leader Damon Thayer and the secretaries of the Tourism and Finance cabinets. What else is the auditor up to? What is he looking for when it comes to how your tax dollars are spent or misspent? And if you suspect corruption or misspent public money in state or local government, how do you get the auditor's attention? State Auditor Mike Harmon, a Republican, is joining us this morning. Welcome, Mr. Auditor. Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you for having me today.
Why are you auditing the Kentucky Horse Park, and is there anything that you suspect you will find when you look into the books there?
Well, we kind of always have a saying since I've been there, follow the data. And so we're not really sure what we will find. We received the request from, obviously, as you indicated, Senator Thayer and the Secretary Landrum and Secretary Parkinson. We went through, we took an initial kind of look, and we just decided based on those requests to go in. But we don't know for sure. Obviously, the Finance Cabinet did one a few years ago. Part of what we want to do is try to confirm and see if they've made the necessary adjustments since that particular one. Also, the Auditor's Office, a lot of people didn't know, the Auditor's Office itself did one back in 1997. So there's a lot. We just want to check it out and make sure things are functioning well, to see if, if proper procedures are being followed. And so we'll just take a hard look at it.
Can we assume from your initial examination that obviously you thought there was enough to want to take a closer look? Yeah,
I mean, we believe that we need to take a look. I mean, we don't know for sure whether or not we'll find anything. A lot of times, like I said, we do those service reviews. We found a little bit of information that we think just needs to take a harder look, but we just don't know until we get in there and look at the data.
How do auditors go about deciding what is and is not proper spending or allocation of the taxpayers' resources?
Sure. From that standpoint, obviously, we look specifically at the laws in the book, procurement codes, what is required and what is not required, and we just make that comparison. Now, this particular we call it an audit, but this particular one will actually be more of what we would call a special examination. It's not specifically a finance audit, what we would consider to be a finance audit like what we do when we go into counties.
Jamie Link, who's been the executive director out there, says he welcomes this.
Exactly.
He wants you to take a look at it. Is it helpful when there is cooperation among those who are in charge?
Extremely helpful. I mean, from a standpoint of when we went back in for the University of Louisville Foundation, it was very helpful that they actually requested, in addition to our concerns, they requested we go in there, and it's the same thing with this. If you have a willing participant, it makes it much easier to ask those questions and to make sure that we get the correct answers.
Are there times when you just come with some recommendations to how things might be done better, or how you might have tighter controls over taxpayers' money?
Oh, definitely. If you go back and look at the 1997 audit, they made some recommendations about some adjustments in fees and how they do contracts, how they manage their expenses, because they weren't really sure things were going in and out. So it's important for us in those particular cases, in a special examination, sometimes we will make recommendations along that line.
What is your time frame at the horse park?
Well, until we get in there, we don't really know. Obviously, we've kicked it off. We want to get in and gather the information as quickly as possible. Personally, I would like to get it wrapped up within 4 to 5 months, but we don't really know until we get in there and start looking at the initial data.
Is it a complex situation out there? I mean, we all drive by it and see it, know they have special events and so forth, know of some plans they've had that didn't pan out, such as a hotel and so forth. Is it going to be difficult to look through it?
I don't know that you would necessarily say difficult, but it is a complex complex situation, go in and take a look. And typically auditors, they don't look at every single thing. What they'll do is they'll go in and pull samples and kind of compare those and see if the law is being followed, see if the procurement code is being followed, and just make sure that things are going the way it should be.
This comes at a time of some political upheaval in Frankfort, obviously, with the new governor having removed members of the horse park board. Does that in any way factor into your investigation?
Obviously we had requests from Governor Bevin's secretaries in addition to Senator Thayer. From that standpoint of the request, it does, but from a standpoint of the actual audit, we make every effort to make sure that we're in arm's length. We make every effort to make sure that we try to eliminate as much of the political aspect of it as can. We truly are just a follow the data type organization.
What are your options if you find wrongdoing? And let's say not just with this audit, but with any.
Oh, sure.
When you go in, you find that there's been some chicanery.
Right.
What do you do?
Well, I mean, if we actually feel like laws have been broken, depending on the extent of that, we can refer to the Attorney General's office, we can refer to the FBI, we can look at other law enforcement to refer to. In some cases, if it's minor but needs to be at least looked at, we can refer to the local county attorney. So.
What do you look at with some regularity, and when does it come to these special examinations? It seems that, and obviously this one has come to your attention with a request from higher ups, as we'll say in Frankfurt. At other times, previously auditors have looked at things that got a lot of media attention all of a sudden. What triggers the special examination, and what are the kinds of things that you just do regularly?
Well, what we do regularly, we do over 600 audits per year. A lot of people don't realize that, but we go when we audit the counties yearly. Now, sometimes, depending on our staffing, depending on their desires, we will in some cases allow them to get a local CPA to do the audit, but we like to go in at least once every 4 years or so to take a look, but that's something we do on a regular basis. We have, of course, we just recently passed Senate Bill 168 was passed that would in fact codify power that we thought we already had to go in and audit cities. We don't do those on a regular basis, but I think we've had 20 over the last several years to take a look at. But if we see, whether it's on the special exam part of it, if we have in the case of the cities, if we have a mayor or someone on the city council or city commission requested, we can take a look and do that surface review to see if we want to go in. For these particular special exams, we've already had several. Obviously, we're doing the CLEP Fund, the Kentucky Law Enforcement Program Fund, and the Fire Fund, and that particular audit, we made that decision based on a conversation that I think we had discussed before with Representative Denny Butler, and made a decision to go ahead, and we're right in the middle of that particular audit. And of course, you got the Horse Park, and of course the U of L Foundation that we're right in the middle of as well. And that particular one, that actually was started by my predecessor, and then once I got there, we made a decision to go ahead and continue it.
Have you followed up on some of the audits that were done by your predecessor that were put in place, that there was a promise there would be ongoing monitoring, such as the Fayette County schools?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we will go back and we will take a look and see if we need to update that. Obviously, I've been there a very short period of time already. Well, of course, it's gone by fast. We're fast approaching 5 months, but there's a lot of things that we will go back and take a look at as well.
Do you, having been there a few months, having served in the state legislature and tried from that standpoint to watch after tax dollars, are you sometimes surprised by how there come to be leaks in the buckets?
After being there 13 years, I certainly understand that government can't do everything. Government is best served when it does for what individuals themselves can't do. But even government can't monitor everything. So it's important for us to have as moral of people as possible. But going in, we do find those leaks, obviously.
And sometimes the schemes are so simple. I mean, we've had situations where somebody in charge was simply writing checks to themselves.
Exactly. And those are a little easier to find, but if they're not monitored on a daily basis, then, or not monitored actively, then sometimes those can get by you.
How do people also, when they take a look at not just the money, but sometimes how a program is being run, the performance audits?
Yes.
How important is that side of what you do?
Well, I mean, those are very important. Obviously, we have special exams, which is actually looking for, criminal activity, or in some cases, just making sure that the law is being followed. And then also we have, as you said, performance audits, which is kind of what we had pushed for in regards to the pension plans. Obviously, we've got billions of dollars unfunded liability in our pension plans. Now, those particular audits, obviously the governor, he campaigned on that, I campaigned on that, and the governor has put dollars in the budget so that those can be done, and they're going to do an RFP in that regards. But performance audits are important as well, but we spend quite a bit of time, as you know, just making sure that everybody is following the proper procedures. So.
Well, you brought up the retirement funds, and I was
Yes.
going to if you didn't. So there's a lot of money that is going through there, obviously.
Yes.
And the governor has indicated that he has frustration. Democratic leadership in the House has frustration. The Republican leadership in the Senate has frustration with what they see as a lack of transparency as to how that money is being handled. In other words, over $1 billion is now being added to those funds, and people really don't know how it's going to be invested.
Exactly. And of course, as part of my duty, I serve as a non-voting member on the Pension Oversight Board. And we take a look at those particular aspects as well. And it's important because, as you said, we were very pleased that the governor did go ahead and push for and get over an additional $1.1 billion added to those pension funds. But it's important if that money is going in, we want to make sure that it's invested wisely. And that's why I'm so glad that we're doing those performance audits, and we'll have an opportunity at least to take a look and seeing if those investments are done in the not only in the proper way, but also in an efficient and a high-performing way.
Is there a reason why there's so much secrecy involved with how how that money's invested?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously, if you ask the people that are doing it, they would say that they've pretty much got to protect some of the trade secrets, as it was, in regards to how the money's invested. But I think at a minimum, even if you passed a law that would allow the legislators and definitely the auditor to take a look at it, if you wanted to preclude those from the open record laws to protect that privacy, I think that would be fine. But somebody has to go in and take a look at it to make sure things are operating correctly. So.
Looking at it from your vantage point, do you think with what has been done to put the additional money into retirements that will in fact shore up those funds? I
think it will turn us around, but it's like anything. If you get way off track, sometimes when I was traveling, maybe MapQuest would take me the wrong direction. When you get way off track, it takes you a while to get back. My guess is we'll probably be digging out over the next 30 years for those, deficits. But, it's better to be digging out than to make the hole bigger. So.
All right, we're with Mike Harmon, who's the Kentucky State Auditor. We'll be back in a moment. We'll ask him how you can report if you find something wrong you think may be going on in your community or within state government in terms of money, taxpayers' dollars being wasted and so forth. And then just a little bit later on, we're going to hear from a man who pretty much knows it all about the Kentucky Derby on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back into WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We're glad you're with us today. The Kentucky State Auditor Mike Harmon is with us. We'll continue our conversation with him. Mr. Harmon, should Kentuckians, from what you have seen, and you've been there,
right,
and as we said, in the legislature and now in this office, generally be assured that their tax dollars are being properly handled, or should they have concern that there is, as the buzzword goes, waste, fraud, and abuse?
Well, I think unfortunately a part of government, as money comes in and money goes out, you're always going to find there is some waste, fraud, and abuse. But I think as a whole, most people are decent. Most people want to do what's right. But it's important for us to always keep that in check. It's kind of like, from time to time, you always want to go to the doctor just to make sure that you're healthy or if you have any problems. And that's kind of what we serve. We go in, we make sure that things are going well. As
you check in with the local entities across the state and within state government and do these things, you invite the public to let you know, to be your eyes and ears as well, right?
Yes. Matter of fact, we have a 1-800-KY alert. 1-800-KY alert, which actually people can call. That's our tips line. You can actually report it either anonymously or if you'd like a report back. You can also go to our website and take a look at that on the government website, and you can report it that way. But if anybody suspects something or needs something, I mean, please give us a holler. I'll be honest with you, we receive on a regular basis, and about once a week we will sit down with staff and we'll take a look, and they do a little bit, as we said earlier, a little bit of an initial investigation to see if it's something we should pursue. If we believe it's sufficient enough to pursue, then obviously we have limited assets as well, so we'll go ahead and prioritize that within our rankings to be able to go ahead and take care of it.
So you have to make an assessment as to whether something potentially has merit?
Yeah, well, we assess a couple things. First, we assess whether there's merit in it, because obviously sometimes people just we talked earlier about the potential of politics, but we want to assess to make sure that there's merit, and then we also want to assess if we have the assets to explore it, because we have limited staffing, and we have to make sure that we try to hit the big items first. So,
state auditor in Kentucky is a partisan election. You're a Republican.
It
We
is.
had a Democrat before you in office. And so there are accusations that the Democratic auditors pick on the Republican counties and the Republicans might pick on the Democratic counties.
Correct.
How do you have to guard yourself against that temptation?
It's tough. I remind everybody that I served as a Republican representative in a heavily Democrat area for years. I think it's important that we just treat everybody with respect and go through the process. And as I said earlier, it's important to me, as well as I think for most previous auditors, it's important for us to follow the data. Just take a look at the data, analyze it and present it. And if we see something, if you ask any of my auditors, I always tell them, I said, we're not going to target anybody, but we're not going to give anybody, cut anybody any slack either. So it's important that we just follow that data and present it appropriately.
You're a delegate to the Republican National Convention.
Yes.
As are most of Kentucky's top elected Republicans. Well, it appears that Donald Trump, has a clear path at this point to being the nominee of the party. What do you anticipate going on up there?
Well, I think since it's not going to be a contested convention, I'm sure things will go well. There'll probably be some protesters. I know if you follow the news, I guess when Donald Trump was giving some speeches in California, there were some unfortunate instances there as well. But I think as a whole, we should be okay.
You supportive of Mr. Trump?
Well, he was not my first choice. If people who know me know I was supporting Cruz, but I am going to support our nominee. I think obviously Trump early on, whether he was our nominee or not, has certainly added to the dialogue. And I think, from a standpoint, I think he will do a good job.
You think he's likely to win?
I think he's likely to win. I think, I was talking with some of our friends. I think both Trump as well as Bernie Sanders has both tapped into what I would kind of call the forgottens, the people that they feel like they've been forgotten. And so it's important for us to go ahead and acknowledge that and work through that. But frustrated, I guess frustrated forgotten is what I was thinking about. But I think he will win. I think he will do a good job. And he won't be perfect. I don't know that there's any president that will have been perfect, or there's any president, Republican or Democrat, that I agree with everything. But I jokingly tell my wife, thankfully, we don't agree on everything, but thankfully she didn't kick me to the curb just because of things we disagree on. So.
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me here.
State
Appreciate
Auditor
it.
today with us, Mike Harmon. And we'll be back in just a moment. Coming up, a man who looks way back into the Kentucky Derby history. Phil Perkins wrapping up a big Derby weekend, and he'll be with us on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. Welcome back. It's Kentucky Newsmakers from WKYT. We're glad you're with us today. Before we leave this Kentucky Derby weekend behind and it's put into the history books, we're going to talk to a man who has lived a lot of Derby history. Phil Perkins is now looking forward to going to his 70th Derby next year. He appears for groups as an expert on horses and their importance to Kentucky, and he celebrates the Kentucky Derby for what it truly means to the Bluegrass State. Phil Perkins joining us here, and this is very interesting. We will to call him a Derby expert because he's been to so many, but yet the way you have gone is very interesting. You've never had a ticket to the Derby, right?
Only 1 year.
Oh,
that
yeah?
was after my late brother died, right after the Derby of 2004. A columnist wrote an article, and they were afraid that I was not going to try it anymore since my brother wasn't with me. That 1 year I had an advance ticket.
Other than that?
Other than that, it's scalpers.
How have you seen the Derby? What you have told me that your most memorable one was probably the first one you went to, and when was that?
My most memorable Derby was 1948. We hitchhiked from Williamsburg. Then you had to go through Corbin, London, every small town you had to go through. We got here in time to, we heard the first race. An old guy had a ladder, a wooden ladder, leaned against the wall, the brick wall that separates Central Avenue from the home stretch. We didn't have any way of getting in. Now, my brother had been to the Derby with the National Guards. He stayed out that year in order to take me. All right. The guy kept saying, give me $1 and I'll let you boys climb it. We were Sunday school boys. We didn't want to do anything wrong.
Yeah.
A policeman came along. The policeman said, get that ladder down, get that ladder down. Well, he took the ladder down and he leaned it up against the wall there for a minute or two, you know. Policeman walked a little ways away and they looked back and he was putting the ladder back up and they just shook their head and went on. Come on, boys, come on, give me $50. Give me $50, you can climb the ladder. I said, well, what about those policemen? He said, son, they too busy arresting drunks and pickpockets. He said, they ain't gonna bother an old man like me trying to make an honest living. We climbed the wall. Looked right down into the back of the starting gate. We saw the Derby all the way around. Wow. Citation, Coaltown second, My Request third, Billings, Grand Pier, and Escadrille. Only 6 horses started that year.
Wow. And from then you're hooked, right? And so you start going back to the Derby.
That is, I've got to rate Citation, I've got to rate Citation above Secretariat.
Really?
A lot of people wouldn't do that, but I love Secretariat.
And so much so that you have right here, and you said authentically, this is a piece of hair from Secretariat?
That's it.
And how do you know it's authentic?
Look at the picture.
Okay, that's you, and what you pulled the hair from the horse?
Yes, we took a vacation and went to see Secretariat after he retired and went down to the paddock. He loved attention. We went to the paddock. He came to the fence. I was petting him. I didn't really intend to pull the hair out of his mane, but I did. Some way I ended up with it. Got it.
What has been so special about the races through the years that you've seen? And which ones really stand out?
Bill, honest to goodness, I'm getting on in years now, but the Derby means more to me every year than it did the year before. I have to, when they come out on that track and they're singing My Old Kentucky Home, and I really have to calm myself down. You know, this is not your first Derby. Your heart's beating, jumping out. They are all great. I really and truly hope that I can at least see 70.
And you're coming up on that next year, right? Greatest horse to win the Derby?
The greatest horse to win the Derby? I'm going to say Citation. If we put Secretariat and Citation together, maybe have a dead heat.
What horse stood out as, you know, in some other way to you the most? By color or by temperament or whatever?
Oh, last year. And Bill, the best thing about last year's Derby, 2016, I was by myself in 2015 when the horse California Chrome failed to win the Belmont. And you know, the owner was upset. Can't blame him for that. But when he said there will never be another Triple Crown winner, I stood up by myself and I pointed to the television and I said, we will have a Triple Crown winner next year, 2016. I had never heard the name Pharaoh, but when I did, I said, this horse is going to win the Triple Crown. And I'm going to make another prediction, Bill. We will have a Triple Crown winner in another one in this decade.
You think so?
I hope so. I think so. I really do.
What was it about Pharaoh that was so impressive?
Oh, his manner. You know, he was cool. He knew what he was doing. He was just he was smarter than a human.
Do you think Kentuckians appreciate the Derby enough? You brought in some memorabilia here, including a program from the 1948 Derby and so many of these others that you've had through the years. Do you think we appreciate the Derby enough? No,
Bill, I got to be perfectly honest. It is the #1 drawing sport, you know. money-wise, and 163,000 people showing up for something, you know, that's over in no time. It's great, the social side of it, you know. I'd love to be on Millionaire's Row sometime, but that's not the Derby to me. I want to go there. I don't want to watch it on television. I don't want to stand down there, you know, and have to look up at the television. I want to be able to see the horses in person.
When you look at a horse and you try to decide, is this a winner? What are you looking for?
You know, you're talking about a racehorse?
Yes.
Well, your model was Secretariat. He was well balanced. He had the rump in the hind legs. He had the bone. You know, his heart was supposed to be 2.5 times the size of the average thoroughbred. He was just a model horse. Now, Citation was beautiful. Citation impressed me, but in an interview with another fellow one time, I said something about, I was more impressed with the horses that pulled the starting gate. Pulled the starting gate. Yeah, back then, 1948, they had big drags, diamond-shaped drags, and they had maybe 6 horses across the track that would pull this around the track. The starting gate had to be moved by horses, and they were huge draft horses, you know. Huge.
Well, what incredible memories of almost 70 years at the Kentucky Derby. We want to thank you for stopping by, both for this program and live for us earlier in the week on WKYT. Phil Perkins, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it.
And we want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Kentucky Newsmakers on WKYT. I'll see you bright and early this week on WKYT This Morning. Have a good week ahead.